After weeks of scandal, blackmail, and chaos, the love and hip-hop world was still reeling from Jasmine Blue's explosive downfall. Her secret affairs with Kris Frost and Krik Joc had turned the entire cast upside down, and the aftermath? Nothing short of legendary. Jasmine had been exposed. Her manipulative games and blackmail plot for $50,000 had come crashing down, leading to her being removed from the show. But she wasn't the only one who paid the price. Both Kris Frost and Krik Joc had been shown the door too, not because of Jasmine's lies, but because they played right into her hands. And now, with everything on the line, the two men were doing something no one expected. They were humbling themselves. They were asking for a second chance. But would Mona Scott listen? The scene opened backstage at a private studio, quiet, dimly lit, and far away from the cameras. Kris Frost arrived first, dressed down in a hoodie and jeans, looking nothing like the confident artist fans were used to seeing. He looked tired, worn out, ashamed. Moments later, Krik Joc walked in. The two men exchanged a silent nod. No words, just mutual understanding. They were both here for one thing: redemption. "I never thought I'd be in this position," Kris said, breaking the silence. "But I can't go out like this. Not like this." Joc nodded. "We messed up. We let that girl play us. But we also played ourselves." A few minutes later, a door creaked open and Mona Scott walked in. She didn't look angry, just disappointed. She stood with her arms crossed, letting the silence do the talking. "So," she said finally, "you called this meeting. Talk." Kris stepped forward. "We made mistakes, big ones. We should have seen Jasmine for who she was, but we didn't. And now we're out. I get it. We deserve it. But this show, it means something to us." Joc added, "This ain't about saving face. It's about doing right. We're asking, not begging, but asking for one more chance to make it right." Mona didn't respond right away. She just looked at them, her face unreadable. "You realize the damage you caused?" she asked. "You embarrassed the network. You made fools of yourselves. And you dragged this franchise into a scandal that nearly ruined our ratings." Kris looked down. "We know, and we own it." Mona sighed. "Why now? Why not earlier, before it all exploded?" Joc leaned forward. "Because we didn't realize how far it had gone. Jasmine manipulated us, but we allowed it. We let the money, the attention, the game get to us. We want to fix it." There was a long pause. Then Mona asked, "How?" That was the question. Kris cleared his throat. "We want to come back, not to be stars, not to be in the spotlight, but to show growth. To show what it looks like to take accountability. We'll film whatever you need," Joc said. "Apologies, sit-downs, even a reunion episode where we take every question head-on." Mona raised an eyebrow. "You're willing to let the world come for you? Again?" "If that's what it takes," Kris said. Silence hung in the air. Mona paced the room slowly, considering every angle. She wasn't just a producer, she was a strategist. If there was a story to save, she'd find it. Finally, she spoke. "I'm not promising anything, but I'll think about it. You two have a lot to prove and even more to fix." As she turned to leave, she added one last thing. "If I bring you back and you mess this up again, there won't be another conversation. You'll be gone. Forever." Joc nodded. "Fair enough." Kris echoed, "We understand." As the door closed behind her, the two men sat in silence. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. For the first time in weeks, there was hope, but not everyone was thrilled. Word quickly leaked that Kris and Joc were trying to come back, and reactions were immediate. Some fans supported it. "At least they're owning up. Let them fix it." Others were furious. "Why give men like that another platform?" And then there was Jasmine, who watched everything unfold from a distance. In a private message leaked online, she wrote, "They're only sorry because they got caught. Don't let the crocodile tears fool you. The drama was far from over." And as Mona weighed her decision, the entire cast waited to see what would happen next. Would redemption be granted? Or would the door stay shut forever? The tension behind the scenes was thick. After Mona Scott's meeting with Kris Frost and Jung Joc, word spread through the love and hip-hop circle like wildfire. Producers were talking, cast members were talking, social media was on fire, everyone had an opinion, and no one was holding back. For Kris and Joc, every second that passed felt like an eternity. Would Mona bring them back, or had their time on the show really come to an end? Meanwhile, Mona Scott sat in her office, flipping through a stack of papers and episode breakdowns. She rewatched old footage. She analyzed every scene, especially the ones that involved Kris, Joc, and Jasmine. She didn't just see drama. She saw a narrative, a lesson, maybe even a comeback story. But it would only work if it was real. She picked up her phone and called one of her most trusted producers. "Put out a feeler," she said. "Let's see how the fans really feel about this." The next morning, a vague tweet went up from the show's official account. "Redemption? Should we give second chances?" The replies poured in instantly. Fans were divided. Yes, everyone deserves a chance to grow. Nah, they made their bed. Let them lay in it. Bring them back for one episode. Let them explain themselves. The buzz was undeniable. And for Mona, that was all she needed to hear. Later that afternoon, Kris and Joc got the call. "You've got one shot," Mona said. "We'll bring you back on a probation arc. No glamour, no parties. Just real conversations, real growth, and real consequences." They didn't hesitate. "We're in." But getting the green light was only the beginning. The real work was about to begin. Day 1 of filming. Return of the Fallen. The cameras rolled as Kris and Joc walked onto set for the first time since their removal. Gone were the designer fits and flashy entrances. This time, they came in plain clothes, raw, real, and ready to face whatever was coming. Their first stop? A sit-down with the producers. No scripts, no prompts. "We want to be held accountable," Kris said. "We know people are angry, and they have every right to be." Joc added, "We're not here to defend what happened. We're here to take responsibility." The producers nodded, but didn't go easy on them. "You both knew Jasmine was dangerous," one said. "Why didn't he walk away?" Kris looked down. "I was stupid. I thought I could control the situation, keep it hidden. But the truth is, I was scared of the truth coming out." Joc agreed. "We both let fear and ego get in the way." It was emotional, and it wasn't over. Next scene. Apologizing to the cast the next day, a small group gathering was arranged. Just a few core cast members, all of whom had something to say. Among them was Tyra, who had been vocal about not wanting Kris and Joc back. When the guys walked in, the room went silent. Tyra broke the ice. "Y'all got some nerve showing up." Joc took a deep breath. "We're not here to make excuses." Kris added, "We just want to say sorry. Not just to you, but to the whole cast. We disrespected the show, the brand, and ourselves." For a moment, no one responded. Then Rich, another cast member, chimed in. "Ain't nobody perfect, but the real ones own up. I can respect that." Tyra wasn't so quick to forgive. "Respect is earned," she said, "not given." But the conversation stayed respectful, honest. For the first time in a long time, it felt like real growth was happening. Meanwhile, Jasmine watched it all from a distance. Jasmine Blue saw the headlines. She saw the behind-the-scenes clips leaking online, and she wasn't impressed. She posted a subtle but shady message on her story. "Don't be fooled. People perform really well when a camera's on." She wasn't done with them. Not yet. Behind closed doors, she was preparing something. One last move to remind the world who really had the power. Flashback. The voice notes while Kris and Joc were cleaning up their mess. Jasmine pulled out her old phone, the one she used to record every voice note, every flirtation, every promise they made when they thought no one was watching. She had never shared those files before. But now, she was tempted, not for revenge, but to stay relevant, to keep her name buzzing. Her public image had taken a hit, but she wasn't the type to fade quietly into the background. And if Kris and Joc were going to rewrite the narrative, Jasmine was going to make sure the full story came out. one way or another. Back on set, final interview of the day. The episode ended with Kris and Joc sitting down for a confessional. "I lost sight of who I was," Kris admitted. "I let a moment of weakness turn into something ugly." Joc looked into the camera. "All I want now is to move forward, not pretend like it didn't happen, but prove I can grow from it." The producers asked one last question. "Do you think the fans will forgive you?" Neither answered right away. Finally, Kris said, "I don't know, but I hope they see our effort." And just like that, the cameras cut. The first day of filming was done, but this comeback journey, it was just beginning. The studio lights were dim, but the energy on set was electric. The first day of Kris and Joc's return had gone better than anyone expected. Fans were intrigued, cast reactions were mixed, and Mona Scott, she was watching every second like a chess master planning her next move. But while Mona was strategizing, Jasmine Blue was plotting. She'd been quiet publicly, no interviews, no official statements, but privately, she was gearing up for a storm. That old phone she kept stashed in her closet, it held her golden ticket, voice notes, videos, screenshots, everything, and she was ready to use it. Meanwhile, back on set, Kris and Joc returned for day 2 of filming. This time, things were different. They weren't just facing the cast, they were facing fans. A special Q&A episode had been arranged. Mona's idea. Producers had selected a few outspoken fans to join the segment virtually. These weren't just supporters. These were people who had dragged Kris and Joc online for weeks after the scandal broke. "Be honest," one fan demanded during the live stream. "Did you ever care about how this would affect the people around you?" Kris nodded. "I didn't think about the long-term consequences. I was selfish, but I've spent the last few weeks sitting with that." Another fan chimed in, "And what about the blackmail? Were you planning to come clean or just hoping no one would find out?" Joc sighed. "At first, we thought we could handle it quietly, but that was the biggest mistake. Trying to cover it up only made it worse." The segment got emotional. At one point, Kris even teared up. "I lost friends. I lost respect. And honestly, I almost lost myself. But I'm here to earn back what I can, the right way." It was a powerful moment, but not everyone was convinced. One fan closed out the segment with a chilling statement: "Accountability is cool, but don't act like you're the victims." Elsewhere in Atlanta, Jasmine was preparing for her next move. She sat at her kitchen table, eyes locked on her laptop screen. An email draft sat open, attachments ready, including a voice recording of Kris sweet-talking her, promising to make sure she's taken care of if she stayed quiet. It wasn't violent, it wasn't illegal, but it was messy, and that's all she needed. She hovered her finger over the send button, but something stopped her. Not guilt, power. She realized something. If she dropped everything now, it would be over. The headlines would fade in a week. But if she held out, if she timed it just right, she could control the story. She saved the draft and closed the laptop. Jasmine Blue wasn't just a scandal. She was a storyline, and she was going to write her own ending. Back on set, another surprise twist. Mona Scott decided to take things up a notch. She invited a licensed therapist onto the show, someone to mediate an honest sit-down between Kris, Joc, and 2 cast members they had hurt the most. The session was raw. Tyra opened up first. It wasn't just the scandal, it was the lies. Y'all acted like everything was fine, and meanwhile, the rest of us were out here cleaning up the mess. Kris looked her in the eyes. "You're right, we weren't honest, and it affected all of you." Then the therapist asked a hard question. "What would closure look like for you?" Tyra paused. "Closure? I don't think we'll get that overnight, but seeing y'all actually take responsibility, not just in words, but in actions, that's a start." Joc nodded. "Then that's what we'll do." One step at a time, the cast began to soften. The wall between them wasn't down yet, but cracks were forming. Later that night, a new leak hit social media. A popular blog account posted a blurry screenshot of what looked like a private message from Jasmine to a gossip blogger. I have audio. I have receipts. If they keep trying to play victim, I'll end them. Fans went wild. Comments flooded in. Here we go again. Jasmine always comes with the heat. Let the drama begin. Kris and Joc saw the post too, and their anxiety spiked. Do you think she'll actually leak something? Joc asked. Kris didn't hesitate. If she feels like she's losing control? Absolutely. They had one goal now. Stay focused, stay grounded, and don't give Jasmine any more fuel. Mona, however, was watching everything unfold with interest. This wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a comeback arc, a war of narratives. And Mona knew exactly how to make it a ratings hit. She called her team for a quick meeting. If Jasmine leaks anything, we pivot. Give her a confession scene. Let her have her say, but only if she agrees to do it on camera. Do you really think she'll say yes? One producer asked. Mona smirked. She won't resist the spotlight. As filming continued, a moment of clarity arrived. In a late-night confessional, Kris said something that stuck with everyone on set. This experience, it's humbled me. Fame made me think I was untouchable. But the truth is, all of this, the show, the fans, the opportunities, it can be gone in a second. I'm not here to chase clout anymore. I'm here to rebuild. Joc echoed the sentiment. We're not perfect. We're not saints, but we're trying. And that's all we can do. But the episode ended with a twist. As Kris and Joc left the set for the day, a crew member handed them each an envelope, no return address. Inside each envelope, a flash drive. Labeled, "You thought it was over." They looked at each other, confused. Concerned, was Jasmine behind this? Was it someone else? Whoever it was, the message was clear. The past wasn't finished with them yet. The flash drive sat on Kris and Joc's kitchen table like ticking time bombs. Neither had touched them yet. The label, "You thought it was over," wasn't just ominous. It was personal. Joc finally broke the silence. Do we even want to know what's on them? Kris stared at his, the little black drive reflecting in his eyes. We don't have a choice. If Jasmine's behind this, we need to know what she's planning. He plugged his drive into his laptop. The screen lit up with a single folder. Truth files. Inside were several audio recordings and video clips. Some were old conversations, private voice notes between Kris and Jasmine. Others were screen recordings of Jasmine narrating her side of the story. I didn't ask to be the villain, she said in one clip. But if that's what they need to sleep at night, fine. Just know, I've kept everything. And if they want war, they've got it. Joc's drive held nearly the same content, only this time, it included unseen text exchanges. Messages he thought were deleted. His stomach turned. She's really got everything, he muttered. Kris leaned forward. It's not just about the scandal anymore. It's about who controls the narrative. Meanwhile, in another part of Atlanta, Jasmine was preparing for her final move. She'd already spoken with the media outlet under strict anonymity. She hadn't handed over the files, not yet, but she gave them a sample, just enough to prove she was serious. Why now? The journalist asked during the call. Jasmine's voice was cool, steady, because they made me the enemy. They painted me like I was just hungry for money, like I didn't matter. This is me taking the power back. But just as she was ready to upload the full folder to the journalist's encrypted server, she paused. A new video had gone live from the Love and Hip Hop channel, a special episode featuring Kris and Joc, a sit-down with Mona Scott, one-on-one, no filters. She clicked play. The set was minimal. Just 3 chairs, no lights, no glam, just truth. Mona got right into it. You both asked for this platform. Now that you have it, what do you want to say? Kris went first. There's no excuse for what happened. I made bad choices. I let money, ego, and fear make decisions for me. But I'm not here to deflect. I'm here to own it. Joc followed. We hurt people. That's real. But we were also scared. When the blackmail started, we didn't know who to trust. We handled it the wrong way, but we never wanted to run from it. Mona leaned in. So what now? Kris looked at the camera. We rebuild. Day by day, the comments exploded. Finally, some real accountability. They actually look humbled. This is how you clear your name. Not with drama, but with honesty. Jasmine sat back, lips pursed. She hadn't expected this. Back on set, the reactions were flooding in. The cast, many of whom had refused to film with Kris and Joc during the scandal, were now rethinking their stance. Young baby Tate tweeted, "Didn't expect to feel bad for them, but growth looks good on people." Sierra replied, "Let's see if the actions match the words." But it wasn't just about words anymore. Mona had one last surprise. She scheduled a private meeting between Jasmine, Kris, and Joc. No cameras, just truth. Jasmine agreed, reluctantly. She walked into the meeting room like a storm. Hair flawless, heels sharp, confidence radiating. Kris stood up. "Thanks for coming." She sat down, not making eye contact. "Let's get one thing straight. I'm not here to make peace. I'm here to speak facts." Joc nodded. "That's fair. Just let us speak too." What followed wasn't pretty. Voices were raised. Accusations flew. Jasmine called out every manipulation, every broken promise. Kris admitted to most. Joc apologized for not stepping in sooner. And then Jasmine dropped the bomb. "I was offered a spin-off deal right after the scandal broke. You know what they told me? Lean into the villain role." Kris blinked. "You're lying." She pulled up the email. "I kept receipts, always." Joc looked shocked. "You turned it down?" She looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm not a puppet. I wanted respect, not a paycheck." That moment hit different. For the first time, all three were silent. No accusations, no defenses, just understanding. Later that night, Jasmine posted a message on her story. "No more leaks. No more games. I said my piece. Let the rest unfold however it does." And just like that, she disappeared from the conversation. No press, no blogs, just silence. 1 week later, the new season of Love and Hip Hop aired. It opened with a montage. Kris and Joc walking back onto set. Jasmine walking out of the building. Mona sitting alone in her office watching footage. Narration played in Mona's voice. Sometimes the story writes itself, and sometimes it rewrites you. Fans were glued to their screens. And in the final scene of the premiere, Kris and Joc hosted a charity event. Low-key, humble, heartfelt. They weren't trying to be stars. They were just trying to do something good. Jasmine, she wasn't there, but her presence was felt. Not as the villain, not as the hero, just as a woman who changed the game. Fade to black. Text on screen, to be continued.